And Jesus said, Blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man. And cursed is the man whom the lion consumes, and the lion becomes man. The Gospel of Thomas, saying 7. And here's an inspirational story based on this beautiful saying. The desert night was still, the kind of stillness that seemed to hold its breath. Above the small sun-baked village, the heavens stretched wide and endless, sprinkled with a river of silver stars. The air carried the earthly scent of sand and sagebrush, and in the distance, a faint wind whispered over the dunes. In the shadow of his family's clay brick home, a young shepherd named Eli lay on his back, gazing into the sky. His life had always been predictable, tending sheep, fetching water, repairing fences, but his heart was restless. Beneath the ordinary rhythm of his days, he carried a deep fear of being too small for the plans of God, fear that his life would never matter, and fear of the dangers beyond the safety of the village. One evening, a traveler came, a tall, weathered man with eyes that seemed to carry both storms and sunlight. His robe was faded, his sandals dusty from countless miles. The villagers gathered around the well to hear his stories, and his voice rolled like distant thunder. He spoke of Jesus, not as a distant teacher of the past, but as a living voice that still called out to hearts. Then, without warning, he repeated the strange line, Blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man, and cursed is the man whom the lion consumes, and the lion becomes man. Now the crowd stirred. They were puzzled. Some shook their heads, others asked for meaning, but the traveler only smiled, as though the answer was not for that moment. As he turned to leave, he looked directly at Eli and whispered, One day you will understand. Weeks later, Eli found himself far from the village, herding his sheep toward the edge of the wilderness. The afternoon sun blazed low in the west, painting the world in gold and crimson. Heat shimmered on the horizon, and the shadows of the acacia trees stretched long and thin. That's when he heard it, a deep, echoing roar that rolled through his chest and froze his blood. The sheep scattered instantly, bleating in terror. Eli's heart slammed against his ribs. Emerging from the tall, dry grass came a lion, its mane catching the sunlight like a crown of fire. Its muscles rippled with lethal grace. Its amber eyes locked on him, unblinking and steady. Every instinct inside Eli screamed, Run! Eli, his hands began to sweat around his shepherd's staff. His knees felt weak, his breath quickened, and 1,000 thoughts crashed in his mind. I'm too young. This is how I die? God, please save me. Then the traveler's words struck him again, not as a riddle, but as a revelation. The lion is not always the beast before you. It is the fear inside you. Something stirred in him, a stubborn, defiant ember of faith. Eli realized that if he turned and fled, the lion would chase him all his life, whether in the wilderness or in his heart. But if he faced it now, perhaps it would never rule him again. He planted his feet in the sand. His voice trembled at first, but grew steadier with every word. In the name of the Lord, you will not harm me. The wind seemed to hush. Even the rustle of the grass grew still. The lion slowed its approach, tilting its head, studying him. For what felt like an eternity, they stared at each other, two creatures of flesh and spirit, both knowing the other could destroy. Then the great beast exhaled, lowered its head, and turned away, disappearing into the wilderness as silently as it had come. Eli's legs nearly gave out beneath him, but his spirit burned with a fierce, new strength. Friends, that night, in the quiet glow of his small oil lamp, Eli replayed the moment again and again. He saw clearly now. The lion Jesus spoke of was anything wild and untamed that could destroy a person from the inside. Things like fear, pride, sin, temptation, or despair. And when a man consumes the lion through faith, overcoming it, it becomes part of him, transformed into courage, wisdom, and strength. But when the lion consumes the man, or when fear, sin, or temptation wins, it changes the man into something less than God intended him to be. And from that day on, Eli was different. He no longer backed away from hard truths or dangerous roads. When bandits threatened travelers, he stood firm. When the poor needed help, he gave freely. When the timid needed encouragement, he reminded them of their own inner strength in God. He told anyone who would listen, "Your lion may not have claws or teeth. It might be the anger you can't control, the temptation you keep feeding, the grief you can't let go. If you face it with the power of God, you will master it, and it will make you stronger. But if you let it rule you, it will devour you." And the villagers didn't just hear his words. They saw the truth of them in his life. Eli had faced his lion, and in the process had become the man God meant him to be. And on quiet nights, when the great sky once again filled with stars, Eli would lift his eyes and whisper a prayer of gratitude, not for the absence of lions, but for the blessing of having to face one. God bless you.